Hello, my name is Daniel White, Clay County Prosecuting Attorney. We're here today to announce that the prosecutor's office has charged Joshua T. Rocha, Hispanic male 920 of 97, in the shooting death of Daniel Vasquez, North Kansas City police officer. Specifically, the state alleges that in violation of section 565.020, that Joshua Rocha committed the Class A felony of murder in the first degree, and that on or about July 19th of 2022 in the county of Clay in the state of Missouri, the defendant, after deliberation, knowingly caused the death of Daniel Vasquez by shooting him. That is count one. The range of punishment in a Class A felony of murder in the first degree shall be either death or imprisonment for life without the eligibility for probation or parole or release, except by the act of a governor, or except if that person has not reached their 16th birthday. Count two alleges the offense of section 571.015, the felony of armed criminal action, in that on or about July 19th, 2022, in the county of Clay, the state of Missouri, the defendant committed the felony of murder in the first degree as alleged in count one of this charge, and did so using a deadly weapon. The range of punishment on count two for armed criminal action is 5 years up to 15 years in the Department of Corrections. Now, it's important to stress that the charge of a crime is not evidence of a crime, and defendant is presumed innocent until he is found guilty or pleads guilty in a court of law. Now, I would like to thank law enforcement in our city and the surrounding communities for doing an excellent and outstanding job in an investigation that is still ongoing. But to this point, we're very comfortable with the evidence we had in filing these charges. There will be further evidence. There will be other decisions that have to be made in regards to this case. So this is far from over. This is just the beginning. Mr. Rocha will be arraigned tomorrow in Division 7, Clay County Courthouse in Liberty at 1:30. His bond is currently set at $2 million. All right, so at this point, I'm going to ask Chief Freeman to step up. He may have some things that he wants to say. There'll be some other people, and then we'll try to take some questions, which we'll be happy to do. Very limited about what we can talk about because this is an ongoing investigation and this case is still pending.
Thank you, Mr. White. Chief Kevin Freeman, North Kansas City Police Department. First and foremost, I just want to thank everybody, thank our law enforcement partners, thank the prosecutor's office for bringing this charge so quickly in a very senseless tragedy. Our community has had an outpouring of support for our law enforcement family, for Officer Vasquez's family, and all of our extended family in law enforcement. We really appreciate all of that. We couldn't get through this without it. North Kansas City is a great place to police. It's a great place to live, and we love our community and the support that they've given us during this very, very, very hard time. We are still working through some of the arrangements with the family. Some of that announcements is ongoing. The family's hoping to meet with the funeral director this afternoon, so we should have some more details on funeral arrangements at that time. Aside from that, I think the mayor would also like to say a few words, and again to express our gratitude to our community. So thank you.
Thank you, North Kansas City Police.
Thank you. North Kansas City Mayor Bryant DeLong. First, I want to thank the KCPD as well as the Clay County Sheriff's Department for all their work in this investigation so far. I also want to extend my sincere appreciation for every agency around the Metro that has come and helped over the last day. I also want to thank the Clay County Prosecutor's Office for their work ahead. Unfortunately, there is no successful ending to the tragic death of Daniel Vasquez. Today's announcement, though, is the first step in achieving any justice for Daniel's death. Again, the family, his colleagues, and the community continue to grieve, and I ask that you keep Daniel's family in your thoughts. Anyone wishing to help the family can donate to the FOP's fund they've set up for the family. You can find the link for that on any of the city's social media channels. I would additionally ask that you give the family the space they need to grieve the loss of Daniel. Thank you.
Are there any questions at this
Chief,
time?
I wanted to ask you about the incident yesterday. You mentioned that traffic stops are one of the most dangerous things that an officer does. And, I don't know, obviously this is unprecedented in your community, but some departments, for that reason, they have two people riding together in a police car as opposed to one. Is this standard operating procedure in North Kansas City to have one officer out, and are you going to review that as a possible change?
Yes, it is our standard operating procedure in North Kansas City. North Kansas City is very fortunate to have a rather large police presence for the size of city that we are, and generally it would have prevented it in this case, but generally our officers are right around the corner from their brothers and sisters anytime in need. Anytime anything happens, we're always going to look at policy and procedure reviews to see if we can be better, and so I'm sure that will happen in the future.
Chief, is the suspect Rocha, does he reside here in North Kansas City?
I'm not privy to that information. I do not know.
What can you tell us about him?
I don't have that information. I spent most of my day at the hospital with the family, and then at their home, and the scene was handled by our partners, Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, so they might be able to answer any of those questions that you might have for them.
Chief, do you know where the weapon came from that the suspect obtained? How did he get it? Was it stolen? Was it purchased? And could you talk broadly about how your officers perceive traffic stops in terms of weapons by the driver or passengers? I mean, it's the pretty loose laws in Missouri. Seems like you would have a healthy skepticism of potential danger.
Every car stop, you take that risk when you walk up to the driver's window. Every officer knows that when they conduct a traffic stop, and they have that in their mind. Your first question, I'm sorry.
Do you know how he obtained the
I do
weapon?
not.
Again, Missouri law is pretty liberal about allowing people to carry weapons in their cars, and I know some police officers are concerned about that for precisely these reasons. Do you think your members share that concern, or is there a review needed of carrying loaded weapons in cars?
I'm not interested in answering that question today, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyone else in the back? Anyone want to talk about it?
What about,
Thank you.
did you obtain a weapon? Was one recovered? Can you tell me anything about that? I don't know if any of the investigators want to touch that.
Deputy Chief Mike Wood, Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. I'm in charge of the Investigations Bureau. A weapon was recovered yesterday as a result of a search warrant.
Can you tell us what kind of weapon?
Not at this time.
Do you believe that's the weapon that was used to shoot Officer Vasquez?
We're conducting investigations at the lab to determine that at this point.
Yeah, our understanding is he turned himself in to KCPD. Did Mr. Vasquez make any kind of confession or statement to police about this incident?
Not at this time.
Can you tell us where he resides at?
He had an address in Kansas City.
I'm sorry?
He had an address in Kansas City, Missouri.
Do you know if the suspect and Officer Vasquez had any run-in prior to this event?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Does he have any criminal history that you're aware of?
No, not that I'm aware of at this time.
What about the vehicle? Because obviously what we understand what precipitated this whole thing was that he had expired tag that may have been forged to begin with, which might suggest maybe he stole the car. Do you know whether this was his vehicle or anything of that nature? Could there be more charges, perhaps, with regard to that part of the incident?
There can be more charges, but the vehicle was his.
It was his.
Yes.
He just never went and got a new registration. essentially.
I don't know that. I just know it had a temporary tag on it when the officer stopped him.
Why willing to surrender?
I do not.
You know why he decided that this was the step to take? Did he give you any indication why he would do something like this?
He did not.
We saw that the suspect, there was a traffic stop in March here in North Kansas City. Did you all experience any problems with him back in March?
That wasn't my department, so I don't have it.
Prosecutor White, can you tell us whether you plan to seek the death penalty? You mentioned that's the top penalty in this case on that first charge. That's your plan at this point?
Well, our plan at this point is that the investigation gets completed fully. All right, what I have generally done in the past, a case like this, is I want the investigation and a full and complete case file on my desk. I will then reach out to the family members of the victim and we'll have those discussions. I will then reach out to members of the North Kansas City Police Department and have those discussions about what they think the proper punishment will be. And after all three of those things are done, I'll meet with my staff and then accept recommendations from them, and then I'll make that decision.
The Missouri Supreme Court previously has ruled that any suspect should be able to post bond given whatever their income is. You mentioned it's a $2 million bond. Do you see any possibility that this suspect could make bond and be out of jail?
I don't know what his assets are, but I can tell you that the Missouri Supreme Court also says that bond is associated with making sure that a person appears in court, or if they are considered a danger to the community. And shooting a police officer, in my opinion, is a clear indication that you're a danger to the community. So I think the bond's appropriate. Now, if he can make that bond, then there are certain conditions that the judges put in regards to that bond. But as of right now, that judge believes that that bond is an appropriate bond.
Does he have an attorney yet? Or is he gonna get,
He'll be arraigned tomorrow, or the 21st at 1:30 in Division 7.
Have you had a chance to speak with the suspect's family? Have they shed any light on this gentleman?
No, generally suspects' families do not reach out to the prosecuting attorney.
Could you spell that last name for us, Rocha, just to make sure we have it correct?
Rocha.
And his first name again?
Joshua. All right, I also have copies of the charging document that I can give to members of the media, and included on the backside of that is the probable cause statement. All right, because we're limited about what we can talk about unless it's in the probable cause. So if it's in the probable cause, that is a public document, and you can do with it what you choose, but I am allowed to give that document to you because it's a public document.